This is the revised design for the hood scoop on the 48. There will be a scallop design towards the rear that will extend it about 6 inches further than it was the first time around. And then that scallop will be integrated into like an emblem and part of the paint on the back side of the hood there, closer to the door. I did an exact draw replica of it on this piece for the driver's side. Of course, this will all be inverted, so we'll have to redo all these marks on the other side to actually build the piece. The nostril piece up there will stay the same. So I'm gonna go ahead, get some gloves on, get this thing into the English wheel, and we'll start bending this thing over. Lack of thought is my process. Pushing it out right there. Hitting it till it fits. For some reason, when I fold this over, it makes it want to get a crown in the middle, and I want it to be straight. So we're getting rid of that crown. Probably easiest way to do it would be to get the stretcher on here and stretch this, but because it's such a sharp angle, I can't get the stretcher in there. So we're just gonna have to keep hitting it. So if I could use my Jedi mind powers and make 2 marker marks right there, that'd be awesome. I can't, and I don't even have my markers.
Do you want to hold it? I'll make a mark for
I'll
you.
put my hand there.
Okay.
Found the marker. Jedi or real, I told you. Okay, so we made this piece right here. This will get holes cut out that match the holes and the vent hole and everything on the side of the truck. But that is the exact shape of what we're covering with our vent plus some in the rear. And if you notice, it has just a hair of a curve to it, so we're going to run it a couple times through the English wheel on the 14 just to give it a little bit of a curve to it so it fits nice and tight up against the side of the hood. Then we took our vent piece that we were working on earlier with the roller and getting that shaped and punched some holes in it right along this top flange that we bent over. And that top flange we'll weld to the top of this, and that will ensure that we have this perfect line all the way across the top. After a few attempts, I finally have the passenger side scoop exactly how I want it. It's nice and straight. It follows the curve all the way around the top, comes to the back. Still deciding on where our cutback scallop and circle setup is going to be, somewhere right about in there where the marks are. But I have great gaps along everything and have figured out the order that it needs to be done to get this to fit. That upper flange that runs right across here was just not going to work. So every time we ran it through the wheel, or I started to try to get this contour along the side of the hood, it just started causing all kinds of wobbles and changing my straight edge along the top here. So what I actually ended up doing was just welding that edge on and sanding it back exactly how we wanted it. So now that I have that order figured out, we're going to start it on this side. Here is my template for where it is going to lay up against the hood. So we'll get that taken off of there, put onto this sheet of 18 gauge and get that done. And then this is the markings on the bottom where it needs to lay on top of the fender to match where it lays on the fender on this side. All right, so I was going to use a Sharpie to lay this out, but unfortunately this tape just will not re-stick to this metal for some reason, no matter how much I clean it. So I laid it down with some magnets and just went around it with some satin black spray paint, because that's what I had sitting here. So I'm gonna let that dry for a second, peel this off. We should have a perfect template of that area there. Cut it out, check it to fit on there. It does have a slight curve to it and a little bit of a compound bend towards the end. So like I did on this one, I will run that back piece through the wheel a few times just to get it to lay flat and tight up against the hood here. And then we will continue on, start cutting out and bending the actual scoop. Got the main part of the driver vent built. There's a line across the front here, and it's a little bit low in this corner, so I'm going to slice this open, re-weld it up where I want it in the correct position, grind all these welds smooth. The back side, I need to cut this large opening here for the vent, goes in the back, and then drill these holes, put the bolts so I have studs. So when you slide this on, it'll just bolt from the inside, and then it'll use the original trim holes, so these can be removed and you can put the original trim back on. So once that is done, I've got these, which are the trim for this section. We're going to cut, trim, and manipulate these to fit nicely in this opening and cut that open. We got that to do on both sides. I made a cool little pattern just to make sure these are the same on both sides. Lines up with the seam there, the hood, and the scoop. Flip it over, lines up with the line, the hood, the scoop, so we know they're the same size in the same spot.
Like Miyagi said, both sides.
Which leads us to the back, which is what started the remake of these. We made them a little longer. The customer wanted to do a scallop. I decided it'd be a good idea to do a circle here that lines up with the back side of the hood. Makes it very purposeful. And then we're gonna airbrush some type of logo or something in there. I'm not quite sure, something to do with the Coyote Illuminator, Ford, F1, whatever. We'll find some cool, drop some cool artwork for that. And that pretty much nails the front fab. So the reason I don't use a punch when I'm drilling, I'll just use an 1/8" drill bit. It always ends up causing a little bit of distortion when you use the punch, and it doesn't always leave a good enough mark to catch the bit anyway. So when you notice when I'm drilling with the 1/8" bit, sometimes I'm moving the drill around. I can actually steer the tip as I get started drilling to get it right at the center where I want it, and once it's lined right where I want it, I can stand it up straight and go in, and then it be centered on my holes every time. So that's one of those. Don't know if that's how you should do it. That's how I do it. It works. Okay, so this is what the finished one looks like underneath. It's got some nice rolled edges. I left a lot of the framework out and open just because it'll seal to the fender when it's closed, and that'll make it a little lighter because the hood it's freaking getting heavy, even though we did that out of 20 gauge. So that's all in, bolted in, and done. We just have to do the rear section and cut the actual nostril hole out of the front. This is the one that I've been working on today. It is all bolted in where it needs to be. And as you can see, there is no inner frame done on it yet to hold it all sturdy. So I spent a few minutes, got a piece of cardboard, I traced it out so it matches the inside and the outside and has the same measurements as that one. So I'm gonna take this piece of cardboard and slice it into pieces similar to these. This is what I used on the other side, and start making those pieces. And if you look at it, I left the outside edge even, and then I stepped it up and came across, so that'll actually float above the hood a little bit. The only part that'll be touching will be the bumpers that are attaching to that outside edge. So let's make this one look like that one, and we can start cutting the holes out, doing the fun stuff and making it look cool. Okay, I went and cut these frame pieces out, ran them through the bead roller. I've got a little lip to strengthen it from side to side, and then I put a little step in it just so that it matches the other side, and that outside 1 inch is the only part that's the lowest point, so nothing else is anywhere near touching the hood. And then went ahead and punched some spots to rosette weld it onto the piece. So the piece is now off, sitting here on the bench. I'm gonna go ahead and do all of the spot welds along the edge, and then just lightly tack it to this inside edge here all the way along, and then test fit it make sure all of my measurements and my little cardboard template right here and everything is correct. And we'll finish getting it welded up, and then we'll either start dealing with the little circles in the back and getting that side closed up, or we will deal with the nostrils. Depends on how I'm feeling when I get there. So I'm gonna get that welded. Extremely happy with how cool these vents came out on each side of the hood. Once we got the trim installed on here, the whole front end just came together. They line up beautiful with the headlights. And then working together with the owner, we finally came up with a solution for the bottom of this. And his reverse S was not the same as my reverse S, which is why we got together and actually talked in person. But they look fantastic. All the lines continue to flow. Nothing looks blocky, out of place. I can't even imagine looking at the front of this truck and seeing it without them on there right now, which is kind of what I was going for. They look like they belong. So the next thing I've got to do on the front end is get this front bumper mounted. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go that route first, or it sounds like we're going to be building some engine covers for the valve covers inside. And I should probably do that first, so I'm not banging my shins on this bumper the entire time I'm doing that. So I think the next thing we'll do is get the vintage air AC condenser mounted, the air to water intercooler mounted, and get some of those lines coming up out of the grill area so we can figure out routing for those hoses. And then we'll come out here and throw the bumper on. So it'll be a little bit before you actually get to see the full look of the front end, but I think this is gonna look fantastic even with the bumper on it. And then we've got a couple cool ideas for inside these vents, because there's no grills or anything on them yet. So kind of toying with some cool ideas, bring some little trim bars in like we have on there, maybe some lights, turn signals, I don't know. So I'll see you then.
I'm gonna push the button, push the button, push the button, push the button, push the button.